on ITVS. For breaking news, scintillating programs, we are limitless, we are boundless. For your comfort, studio session, Zoom meetings, live streaming of events, equipment rented, and others, ITVS is your preferred home. Welcome on board.
You know, it's usually a thing that, of course, people say January is the longest month, but as it is now, today is 16th of January 2024, and it seems this January is taking another sweep. Of course, it's been fast. People have been saying the good things about this January, particularly about it being fast, unlike every other January. So it's a beautiful morning to you, wherever and whenever you're watching this. Is Immaculate Television, and you're welcome to Newspaper Review on ITVS. And what we do is make sense of some of the trending stories, breaking stories, and developing stories right on the dailies of Nigeria's newsprint across the country. And so today we'll be starting up with the Blueprint newspaper. We have quite a lot of papers to run through. We flip through the Vanguard newspaper, Tribune newspaper, Punch, Daily Sun, and so many others. So, but yet, let's start with Blueprint newspaper to see how much of stories we can use from that particular newsprint. Abuja kidnappers jerk ransom to 700 million naira. And that's coming from the front page of the Blueprint newspaper. You know, the sub-point under it's about gunmen storm Chukuku, another Abuja community kill one. Wike not properly briefed on residents' nightmare. That's coming from the PCC. 36 women abducted, 3 killed in Zamfara community. And you want to get more on that story, check page 6 of Blueprint newspaper this morning. Of course, it's been topical, it's been trending about the current security situation in the country. Very abysmal, you would agree with me, because time and again we've been seeing cases of kidnappings, cases of nabbings, cases of, killings and all of that across the states, and it's not a good one. It's a far cry from what Nigerians are expecting. We are not requesting for this, and we pray and we hope that the federal government and the security apparatus in the government will be rejigged to really work in tandem with what they should do and ensure the safety of lives and properties for Nigerians as well. Talking about the Kaju girls and others, of course, talking about the Abuja kidnappings, you know, we've been telling you even before now about the development into this story, how that Nabia, of course, has been reportedly killed. And we brought that yesterday in the news. And again, we are still expecting, because the bandits have said they would not desist from killing, because they said they will still kill the 5 other if they do not pay the ransom that is being requested. I think about 100 million naira is what they're expecting. How would they get that? For an average family, even if you're a politician, to be hard for you to get that, except for politicians who are, who are finding their hands dirty somehow, some way. But anyway, yes, we'll move away from that story to see some other stories. APC, Buhari, hail first party national chair, Akonde at 85. Of course, happy birthday to Akonde, who is clocking 85 today. Quite a milestone for him, especially in the political scene. And that's on page 7 of the Blueprint newspaper. You want to get that, check more into that story. Murphy takes over federal government stake in 11 discos from BPE. All of these stories you can catch on the Blueprint. You want to get more details into that, check the Blueprint newspaper this morning to see some of these stories. Away from the Blueprint newspaper now to Daily Trust. Daily Trust is reporting something else about money. And what does it say? Reads 438 million naira contract. Interior Minister faces CCB today. It seems like a good one. We've been having this discussion, this conversation about bringing political office holders into the book, bringing them to face the consequence. Like we always, and I always believe personally, that if you do the crime, then you should do the time. It's basic. Whatever you do, you should get the consequences of whatever action you have placed. Even as a political office holder at one point or the other, whatever you do, you should be responsible for the consequences consequences of your actions and inactions while in office. So this seems like a good one. We'll get our noses out to see how it unfolds. Again, Daily Trust is saying, save Nigerians from kidnappings. This is a front page comment on Daily Trust, and I like the way it's being put out on the front page of Daily Trust newspaper this morning. You know, save Nigerians from kidnappers. Very, very notable, very, very instructional, especially to the appropriate authorities, you know, talking about the federal government as well as the security apparatus in the country. We need to fix this kidnapping issue. It's been time and again, we've been having this, and it's right now, it's getting to the brim. It's getting to the point where we can no longer, you know, people are not safe any longer. If you have just a few naira, you don't want to move around because you know you can be kidnapped for it, and it's not a good one. And it's funny how that we make joke, we make less, we make funny stories out of these things, and it seems like, you know, when something is happening, we get to you know, trip down on the fact that we make comedy out of it. It's not a comedy show, it's a real situation. Lives are dependent on the security apparatus of the country. The federal government needs to up their game. We need our A game in this current crisis that we have found ourselves. Away from that story as well, 5 bodies recovered, scores missing as boat carrying 100 capsizes in Niger. Another trending bad situation, abysmal, you would agree with me. Residents flee as bandits attack military camp in Katsina. Every now and then, it seems people don't even want to read the newsprint any longer, especially this time, because it's from one kidnapping story to another insecurity story every now and then. And it seems to as though the presidency as well as the concerned bodies are not really you know, giving us what we need, especially considering their body language. It seems not to be addressing the current situations, pertinent, imminent situation that we have found ourselves in the country. Away from that as well, Armed Forces Remembrance Day, Tinubu, Akpabio governors honor fallen heroes. Of course, we brought that to you in the news yesterday, where we had newspaper bulletins and newscasts yesterday. We told you how that happened. Of course, one of the things that we are envisaging to see, that if we are celebrating the armed forces for their relentless, indefatigable service to the nation, then we also have to consider the people that have died in the course of action. And we also have to consider that we need to up our game. If our security apparatus was very strong some years back, what will be the story for now? We know it's not as before. We know we are, and we should be increasing in terms of this, you know, system and policy. We should be developing and not jerking. It seems like we're jerking, taking one step front and then 5 steps backward. Not a good one for us in this country. Away from Daily Trust newspaper now to the Guardian newspaper. Federal government strained to meet 650 million barrels target over crude-backed loans. That's coming from the Guardian newspaper this morning. You want to get more on that story, check page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Very notable about 2024 oil production, and that's what we're talking about. We've been putting our noses out to see how this was going to unfold when the current incumbent government came into power. They said, yes, by December, we are going to have one of the refineries, of course, like we know, Aliko Dangote's refinery is going to start work by December. And it seems like, yeah, there's been some sort of work, but it's not as much as we expect, because we know we just need to balance this whole situation, especially considering the crisis caused by the menace of fuel subsidy removal. Not a good one, and it's affecting, in fact, it's affected most of the other sectors in the country. So if we have that working, if we have the refinery working, I think it's a very good way to go. It's you know, upward mobility for the country. Away from that particular story, Tinubu leads Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration. Yes, we brought that to you yesterday. Federal government's 35,000 naira wage award remains still new minimum wage. NLC declares also a story you would like to track for your information. Away from that now, Nigeria's inflation ends 2023 at 28.9% as Naira anxiety worsens outlook. That's on page 6 also of the Guardian newspaper this morning. We brought that also in the news yesterday. You want to catch that, get more on the story that we brought yesterday. Reconsider INEC budget for accountability and democracy, also on the front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Incessant kidnappings on Setu Abuja resident. And it seems not to be that this is not just happening in Abuja, it's happening across the state, the 36 states of the Federation. And it's not a good one. We've been crying out, we've been, screaming to the government to rescue us from this. Reconsider INEC budget for accountability and democracy. That's from the editorial on page 2. Minister orders this course to supply transformers to communities. Seems like a good one for the electricity sector of the country. Of course, away from that as well, to the very first right hand of the Guardian newspaper, if you are seeing that, 7 richest Africans wealthier than poorest half of continent's population. That's about, like they say, per capita income is what they call it. How that some persons, about seven Africans are controlling the wealth of millions of people across the African continent. It seems not so good. NNPCL shops for net worth investors to manage Port Harcourt refinery. There's been topics about this Port Harcourt refinery. Of course, we know before now it has not been working up to its maximum capacity, but we're expecting that now the pressure will be less on it. I will be expecting that Dangote refinery would really take more into consideration, especially talking about the production of oil, crude oil in the country. Away from the Guardian newspaper this morning, now to Daily Independent newspaper this morning, and on the front page of Daily Independent, it reads, worsening poverty, hunger, fueling insecurity in Nigeria. And that's coming from Atiku. Atiku is speaking out, asks authorities to address situation to regain trust of citizens. And the question would be to Atiku, if you were the president of this country, what would you do better, or what would you have done better? Because it seems like when there's a crisis, the opposition party just gets to have a voice, they get to speak. Because at some point, Atiku was formerly the vice president of this very country, and I'm not so sure he did many things if we have to consider some of the things were in its regard as his responsibility as the second man of the federation. But yes, we'll give that to the benefit of the doubt that whatever, if he was in power, maybe he would have done better. But let's see, let's hope that it will get better as we progress from here. For 40 years now, few people concerned are Commonwealth, that's coming from Tinubu. Okay, few people cornered, yes, cornered our Commonwealth, Tinubu. It seems you are one of the few people, like some people would say. I'm not saying that, of course. If you say that, if you say about, of course, he was talking in respect to subsidy, and he said that was why they had to bring it down, that it seems like some people have been benefiting from me. But the question again will be to him. The conversation should be, what have you also benefited from? When we talk about Nigerian situation, it's quite abysmal. Every political leader at some point, at every point, must have had that opportunity to, to siphon funds into his own personal account. And we've seen that, especially into the recent probings of the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and all of that. We've seen the crises, back and forth and all of that. Seems we are not getting out of this trap that we have found ourselves. We did not even find ourselves there. It's very unfortunate because we put ourselves there, and that seems like the situation. Away from Daily Independent now to Leadership newspaper this morning, Supreme Court, Nasarawa, APC, PDP signed peace deal. Ganduje, Kwakwanso endorsed Kano Elders Council. Also page 6 of the Leadership newspaper this morning. FCT residents blame security agencies. That's also on page 4 of the Leadership newspaper. President, governors, lawmakers pay tribute to fallen heroes. Kidnappers kill 3 more victims. Raise ransom to 700 million naira. 5 sisters yet to regain freedom. Rescue victims. Remi Tinubu tells police. Retired Army General chides leaders. So many stories to go around, so many things to talk about. And right on your screen, you would see the decoration of the fallen heroes that happened yesterday. Of course, that seems like on the flip side. But yes, we have pressing urgent situations currently ongoing in Abuja about the Buhari kidnap situation, and we are hoping that the government will do something to tackle that as soon as possible. Away from Leadership newspaper now to Punch newspaper. The Punch newspaper is reporting something about the abduction epidemic spreads nationwide. That's exactly the situation we've been talking about today and even before today, about the abduction epidemic spreads nationwide. So it seems not to be happening in Abuja. be happening across the federation, across the 36 states in the federation, because Abuja is considered to be the FCT, Federal Capital Territory of this country. So it seems to have more, security apparatus around that particular place. Because if we have a very large chunk of our leaders settling in that area, that means we have more security personnel being, being deployed to that particular region. That's what I'm trying to say, that we have more of them. If we have more of them being deployed to that particular place, and we still have this abduction situation ongoing in Abuja, it seems like a very, very shambolic situation. Especially, we have to call to book the right people, the concerned authorities that should be responsible for this. Abduction epidemic spreads nationwide. Kidnappers move from expressway to Lagos, Ogun, Abuja city centers. Abductors kill 2 young victims, demand 700 million naira ransom for 9 others. All of these stories you can find on the Punch newspaper. OPS blames struggling naira for highest inflation in 21 years. 14 states spent 21 billion naira on foreign trips despite zero FDI. EFCC to arraign ex-minister over unpaid 3.6 billion naira loan. Also on the Punch newspaper this morning. And coming to the far end, the down part of the Punch newspaper this morning is showing Tinubu right yesterday when they were decorating fallen heroes and talking about some of the things they have done to the service of this nation. Tinubu, National Assembly governors remember fallen heroes and soldiers. Sanwo-Olu promises more projects with 2 trillion naira budget. Seems like a good one for Lagos State. Lagos seems to be leading, if you ask me, of course, my personal opinion. Kidnap, Wike fiddles with Rivers politics while Abuja burns. 69 protesters killed, 189 journalists arrested under Buhari, and that's coming from a special report on the Punch newspaper. You want to get more on that story, check the Punch newspaper for all of that story and so many you could use. Of course, the flip side of another situation, getting more traction into that story about the whole situation in Abuja. Some people have said this is a plot to make Wike seem incompetent. People have, there's so many policies, theories, and all of that that are not so, evidently based according to projections and observations. Some of them are just, assertions, simulations, drawing projections from things and all of that. But yes, we are seeing what will become of the situation in Abuja as we speak. Kidnappers go gaga, rake in millions from Abuja victims. That's coming from the Daily Sun newspaper. I would like you to see what Daily Sun is reporting. Particularly, it seems like I like the way they put it, because it seems like the right situation. Kidnappers go gaga, rake in millions from Abuja victims. Go gaga, it means like they are partying on Abuja people. Because how would you expect 700 million for 5 people? Even if for one person, it's just too much of money. How would you expect to get that? But sometimes we will not have to blame them, because if we have office holders, political office holders, who are siphoning more than that, then what would you expect that citizens would do? I'm not justifying kidnappings, of course, but we have to also tackle this situation right from the root, right from the etymology of this. We need to see into it, how we can make it right. If we have political leaders that's embezzling money, then we should stop them as well. If we are stopping the kidnappers, yes, good one, we need to stop them. It's it's an infringement of the right of people, the fundamental human right. So we have to also stop the political leaders from siphoning that much. Even siphoning anything like embezzling the money they are embezzling, we need to stop them as well. Over 300 residents kidnapped in 2023. That's a large number of persons from Nigeria. And I think we need, at this point, to really consider the lives of people. A country that is not intentional about the lives of its people would not grow. Because you need human capital to, not just the natural resources that you have around. It has not helped anybody. Otherwise, people are just siphoning the money, taking a lot of money to their own personal account. But what we need to focus more is on people. We should not lose people because of our negligence, because of our whatsoever undoings and doings and all of that. We need to really make the right moves, of course. Mountains, ungoverned areas serve as hideouts. it seems like but whatever this situation is, there's always been hideouts. Why is it happening now? That's the question. It is not about mountains. It's not about forests. We've always had forests. We've always had mountains and all of these very nice ecological regions. We've always had those vegetation. But now, why is it happening? That's the question. That's the conversation. Not about mountains, not about forest. Because it seems like the government is now coming up to say they will deforest a lot of places because it's serving as a hideout for criminals and all of that. We've always had these things. Why is it coming now? That's the conversation to be had. It is not about the hideout. It's not about all those things. What should we tackle first? First things first. Let's take the right step first, and then we follow up from there. Tinubu, governors, lawmakers, others honor fallen heroes. Armed Forces Remembrance Day. Hoodlums invade Ekiti Teaching Hospital, attack doctors, steal corpse. And that seems to be like what we've heard from the teaching hospital this morning. On page 4 of Daily Sun is where to find our story. 3.6 billion naira fraud. EFCC arrest ex-minister Ogwo. And that's a good one because we need many of these people to be called to book. Governors committed to ending banditry, terrorism, other crimes, and that's coming from Sunny. 747 CBT centers cleared for 2024 UTM. That's coming from the educational sector. Federal government acquires BPE stakes in 11 electricity discos. Away from Daily Sun now to wrap up. We check The Nation is reporting that Tinubu prosperity soon after subsidy removal pains. Seems like the president is giving hopes, is giving joy, maybe something like an iota of joy to Nigerians by saying that prosperity soon after subsidy removal. But what's the plan? What's the blueprint? Can we have that? Can we have the strategic blueprint for that? If you have said that, what have you envisaged to say that? What are your projections? We don't just need words. This seems like an empty word to an average Nigerian who is suffering, who doesn't have money to cater for his family. You are saying that prosperity soon after. How? That's the question. That's the conversation we should be having right now. NNPCL opens bid to privatize PH refinery. Away from The Nation now to Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Nigerian Tribune is reporting so many stories as usual, but beautifully it's talking about Adelabu unfolds roadmap for power sector. Says federal government spent 700 billion naira on electricity subsidy in 2023. State government to get power attorney in discos operation. It says estimated billing to end this year. Ibadan to get 330 kVA. Seems like a good one for the resident of Ibadan. Transmission substation, 132 kVA substation in Oyo for upgrade. And that's on page 7 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning. You want to get more into that story, all you need to do is just get your hands on one or stay tuned for our subsequent bulletins and newscasts. We'll get you all of that information and many more that you can use. Away from that, over 50 aspirants Josu for Edo Guba ticket. Rivers Assembly invites 9 commissioners who resigned for screening. All of that story we can use this morning. Away from that, let's just do a bit of sports before we call it a time together today. Sporting Sun is reporting Haaland's Man City future tied to Guardiola. It seems the guy is not leaving Manchester City anytime soon. Police arrest Ghana fan for attack on coach. This seems to happen every now and then. Okocha joins Eagles for Cote d'Ivoire showdown. Murphy's arrival boosts team ahead of Titanic Elephants clash. It's going to be a big game on Thursday in Nigeria against the Ivory Coast, the current the host of the AFCON. Of course, we're expecting that to be in the walk and out-on of events. Sadiq Umar returns to training at Real Sociedad. Finidi tips Senegal to win AFCON. I hope that is true. Anthony Joshua Ngannou fight set for March in Saudi Arabia. Seems to be what everybody is seeking out for. Kane leads Bundesliga top scorers race. Mourinho faces sack at Roma. De Rossi on standby. I would have loved to talk about this Chelsea particular move for a forward, but yes, that would be during the subsequent newscast that will be giving you. Just stay tuned. You need not to go nowhere. This is Immaculate Television. Once and again, my name is Anolu Akpo Idowu. Thanks for joining on this edition of Newspaper Review. We've had a wonderful time together. We hope to have more in our subsequent programs and news bulletins, as well as newscasts that will bring in your way. All you need is just stay tuned. Remember also that we are now on digital platforms, various ones. Of course, for Android users, all you need to do is just download Net Niger TV app. As well, for iPhone users, Limex World TV app is where to find us. You can always reach us anytime, anywhere. We are limitless. Immaculate is limitless. Of course, thank you so very much. A beautiful morning to you. Stay tuned. We have subsequent programs coming your way, but that will be in a moment. Stay with us.